He was born in a small town of the Austrian Empire. He worked as a pharmacist, and only in adulthood did he hear a voice that promised him the destiny of a great artist. People called him insane. Museums refused to accept his paintings even for free. After his death, his canvases were almost cut up and used to cover wagon carts. Today, Tivadar Csontváry Kostka is considered one of the most original masters of Central Europe, and his works sell for millions. This is a story about prophecy, loneliness, long journeys, the mystery of the old fisherman, and a genius his homeland recognized far too late. The painter of sunlight. Tivadar Csontváry Kostka was born on July 5, 1853, in the small town of Kiseben, today Sabinov, Slovakia, which at that time was part of the Austrian Empire. He came from a large family. His father, Laszlo Kostka, was an impoverished Polish nobleman who had moved to Hungary and opened a pharmacy. It seemed obvious that Tivadar would continue the family business. In 1865, the family moved again, this time to what is now the Transcarpathian region. Tivadar studied in Uzhhorod, trained in pharmacology, and became a pharmacist. Nothing in his life suggested that he would become an artist. Then, on October 13, 1880, something happened that he later described as life-changing. Standing behind the pharmacy counter, he sketched a landscape with an ox cart on the back of a prescription sheet. His supervisor saw the drawing and reportedly said, "You were born to be a painter." Later, Csontváry claimed he experienced a mystical revelation. He said a voice promised him that he would become the greatest painter of sunlight and would surpass Raphael himself. Some biographers later suggested he may have suffered from mental illness. But during his lifetime, he was never officially diagnosed and never treated in a psychiatric clinic. The following spring, he traveled to Rome to see Raphael's works in person. Surprisingly, he wasn't impressed. He said he didn't find the sun or the inner light he was searching for. Unlike Vincent van Gogh, who followed impulse and emotion, Csontváry was methodical. He continued working as a pharmacist for more than 10 years, carefully saving money before fully committing himself to art. He studied in Munich at the private academy of the Hungarian painter Simon Holosy. Among Holosy students were artists from across Europe, including the Russians Kuzma Petrov-Vatkin and Konstantin Korovin. Later, Csontváry studied with Friedrich Kahlmorgen and spent time in Paris. But academic painting didn't satisfy him. He decided he would paint as he sees. In 1900, he changed his surname from Kostka to Csontváry, a Hungarian form of a Slavic family name, creating the identity we know today. Csontváry traveled extensively. Dalmatia, Italy, Greece, Egypt, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. He climbed mountains, stood beneath waterfalls, observed birds and butterflies, and absorbed the light of the Mediterranean. In his diaries, he wrote that he didn't paint with colors. He simply observed the breathing of nature and the music of existence. His palette was bold and radiant, dominated by turquoise and yellow. As a trained pharmacist, he experimented with paint formulas, which may explain why his colors remain so vibrant more than a century later. He created enormous canvases, some up to 30 square meters. Because they were transported rolled up, the paint often cracked, and he had to restore them himself. The Old Fisherman, a secret of duality. In 1902, while traveling in Naples, Csontváry painted The Old Fisherman. At first glance, viewers saw only an asymmetrical portrait of an elderly man standing by the sea, with Mount Vesuvius in the background. But later, an extraordinary detail was discovered. If you mentally divide the face vertically and mirror either side, two completely different faces appear. On one side, a calm, prayerful old man against the peaceful sea, almost godlike. On the other, a darker, almost demonic figure with stormy waves and a smoking volcano behind him. Through this visual trick, Csontváry expressed the dual nature of humanity, the idea that absolute good and absolute evil coexist within every person. Csontváry exhibited in Paris in 1907 and 1910, and in other European cities. Critics abroad responded positively, but in Hungary, he was considered strange, even mad. His ideas were radical for his time: veganism, pacifism, anti-smoking activism. He wrote philosophical works such as Energy and Art, The Mistakes of Civilized Man, and Genius, Who Can and Who Cannot Be a Genius. He never married, he lived in isolation, and during his lifetime he did not sell a single painting. He died on June 20th, 1919, in Budapest in poverty and loneliness. Officially, the cause of death was complications from arthritis, though there are other theories. His remains were later moved to a common grave at Kerepesi Cemetery. After his death, relatives planned to sell his canvases as ordinary fabric. The paintings were stacked in rolls near his studio. By chance, architect Gedeon Galozzi saw one of them, the Lonely Cedar, and recognized its value. He bought the entire collection, saving it from destruction. Later, the Hungarian state acquired the works. Today, more than 100 of his paintings are preserved in museums and private collections, many of them in the city of Pécs. Parallels with Van Gogh. Csontváry's fate is strikingly similar to that of Vincent van Gogh. Both were born in 1853. Both began their artistic journeys as adults. Both were largely self-taught. Both rejected academic conventions. Both died poor and unrecognized, and both became symbols of artistic immortality. The difference is that we know so much about Van Gogh, and still surprisingly little about Csontváry. Decades later, his paintings began selling for millions of euros. In 2006, one of his works sold for over $1 million. Interest in his personality continues to grow. Even handwriting analyses have challenged earlier claims of schizophrenia, suggesting that the image of the mad genius may have been exaggerated. Csontváry called himself the painter of sunlight. He believed in his destiny and followed it through loneliness, ridicule, and poverty. He did not become famous during his lifetime, but he became immortal after his death. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and hit like. It really helps the channel grow. Consider becoming a sponsor if you'd like to support our work. And visit alabrio.co, a space where artists, collectors, and creators connect, exhibit, and build their place in the art world.